1, 2, 3. I think that'll do. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Chaz Palmer Williams podcast. This episode is with Sam McGregor, who is one of the co-founders of Signature Brew beer, and also he was in Grown at Home as a trombone player. Sam has been around the scene for a long time now. Light year, we did a collab with Signature Brew, and it was an amazing process. We went in, we met everyone, and we tasted all the beers, and it was just really cool and really surreal that an old mate who you've known for a long time can achieve something like that. It's really great, because sometimes I still feel like I'm a child, you know? I'm like, am I really even a grown-up? And to know people who are successful but still staying ethical like this is fantastic. And, Signature Brew are now the biggest independent brewery in London, which is quite the achievement, while still holding on to a lot of those punk rock ethics. We chat about the sort of involvement of punk rock and running a company and how you can sort of make those things sort of work together. Even saying it now, and I say it in the podcast, it's really weird to say that. It just feels like quite a strange comparison and parallels, but there are some, and you can do that. You don't need to be these insane billionaires or whatever. Like, why do you need to be like that and not be ethical? There is zero reason for that. Anyway, thanks again to all the Patreon supporters. Basically keeps us going. It's really exciting to do this. Again, I'm enjoying, absolutely loving every interview that we do. And if you know anyone from that scene or whatever, please pass on the podcast and let them know that we're doing it, because we're growing all the time, and that's really great. So thanks very much again, and really, I do hope genuinely that you enjoy the podcast. Bye-bye. Dot dash dash dot dot dash dash dot dot dash dot dash dot dash 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 dot dash dash dot dash dot 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 dash 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 dot dat dot dot dash dash dot dash dot dot. This is way longer than I thought. Dash dot 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 dash dash dot dash dot dash dash dat dash dot dash 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 dot 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 dash. Oh, fucking hell. This is too long. That's Morse code.
Keep going, yeah. I cracked that.
Keep going.
I cracked that bit of the code.
Dot dot dash dot dash 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 dot dash dot dash. I can't do it. Yeah,
it's nearly there.
No. There's pages of it. No, there's pages of it. I'll send it you. Welcome.
Was that Morse code for you're listening to the Chaz Palmer Williams podcast?
No, it was Morse code for welcome, Sam, and thank you for coming on the podcast. Your bum has done a big stank. Wipe it now.
And we're off.
Straight out of the gate. Yeah. Anyway, how's it going, man?
Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, excited to have this chat. I prepared for it by listening to Louis Theroux interview Steve Coogan.
Oh, amazing. Was it good?
Oh, I only watched a couple of clips, but, I got the gist. Yes, it's good.
I was listening to Grown at Home last night.
Yeah? Which tracks?
I don't know. Whatever, like, Apple does. Grown at Home's your old band, right? And in my phone, you are Sam Grown at Home. And I like that, because I guess we've known each other a long time, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've got lots of people that saved in my phone as like Bob Barrett's Bob Drums.
But for Bob Barrett, that does work, because like he is just drum central, isn't he? It is a weird thing, that sort of punk naming thing, isn't it? Where like I think someone in my normal life or whatever was like Chaz Lightyear, and I'm like, yeah, like, and that's a bit lame, because it sounds like you're trying to be like Buzz Lightyear,
Let me just see what you're in my phone as. Yeah, Chaz LY. That's what you're in mine.
There's a watermark at like or a watershed where people become, it's like their alter egos. So you're now, to a lot of people, probably Sam Signature Brew, eh?
Yeah, I'm in people's phones as Sam Signature, definitely.
Which is, just to sort of explain to people what this is about. And I guess, so Sam, you a co-founder, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, of Signature Brew Beer, who, if you've not heard, are a brewing company who do loads of collabs with bands, and I think probably the first ones to do that sort of music-focused beer idea, maybe.
I love hearing other people explain Signature Brew to me.
Sorry.
No. It's good to kind of get a feeling of what people think of it.
Give me your elevator pitch. Give me your elevator pitch now.
Do you know what's really mad is that I've been doing it set it up just over 14 years ago, and I still haven't nailed the just say it exactly the same every single time. So every time I say it, I make up a new version, and I really wish I'd just done the same thing over and over again because it would make my life a bit easier. But anyway, I set Signature Brew up in 2011 with my cousin Tom. He's a brewer. I'm the inverted commas musician, and I just didn't want to drink shit beer at gigs anymore. So that's what we did, and we thought if we create beers with musicians and bands, that will make that problem go away.
That's really funny. Sorry to interrupt, but it's really funny because that was a real problem. Beer was shit at gigs, wasn't it? 20 years ago, it was Carling at an O2 venue, and it was
it
10
still
quid
is.
then, you know?
It still is shit. I was like, yeah, we'll solve that problem. No. The big breweries want you to associate your awesome time seeing your favourite band with their not great beer and not great beer selection.
But do the bands want to associate themselves with a shit beer? Probably not.
Yeah, and they don't have a choice. You go, all right, we're going to play the O2. I mean, I remember back in the day when we played O2 Academies, we were super happy. And the bands obviously can just choose what they want on the rider, but it's the fans who are being forced to drink the terrible beer.
You just kind of go to the bar and oh, fucking hell. I think it's weird because it's almost like when people ask you what your band's done or whatever, and you tend to undersell it. And I feel like, you're definitely underselling what you've done. And
I've got more elevator pitch if you want it.
No, that's enough.
No, you go.
I think it's just amazing that you sort of do you think you learned some of those skills being on the road or being in punk and stuff like that?
100%. Being in a DIY punk band is the same as starting a small business. And there's loads and loads of similarities and loads of things I learned being in a band, just definitely transferable straight away to starting a business and running a business and figuring it out as you go along and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like I'm at a job interview.
Oh, mate. I've interviewed a lot of people just to explain Signature Brew more for the listeners, both listeners.
My mum.
And my mum. Yeah, now we're the biggest independent brewery in London, and we make music-focused beers that are not just collaborations, and we've got 2 venues and put on loads of shows every day.
That is mad. So you're the biggest independent brewery in London.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, man. I think the thing that interests me, you just see your friends as your friends, You see, Neil out of Lightyear, I just see him as, and I go about this all the time, or Nell, but what you see him as your mates, but actually they can do all these other things. And I think that for you, I see you as Sam Trombone, you know what I mean, and an old mate and stuff. But what interests me is that back in the day, if we were to say, you'd be running a business and turning over, I imagine your turnover, this is turning into a LinkedIn thing, isn't it? But what's your turnover? What's your turnover?
Stay in the life of the CEO, whatever that one is. Never listen to it.
What's your turnover, mate? What's your fucking turnover? I Googled how much the company was worth,
About £7.5 million.
It was more than that. But that's AI for you. It bullshits, doesn't it?
Oh, did you Googled it? It is mad. Here's some controversial, perhaps not normal opinions. But I think that society, capitalist society, sort of puts running a business on some sort of mad pedestal. And people are always like, oh my God, that's amazing. But do you know what's amazing? It's just any job. Anybody who's doing anything that they like and that makes them feel satisfied and they're doing good, that's awesome. But society needs people to set up businesses and do growth. That's how capitalism economy works. That's where you've got sort of bullshit grind culture. And, when I talk to other people who've got businesses, it's you can choose to not do this. And people are patting you on the back and telling you it's awesome. But it's just a choice, yeah? Was that even an opinion? I don't know.
I think what I'm getting at is the clash of the punk ethic. And, we had these ethics and I still base myself around this punk ethic of, and it's labeled punk in our scene or whatever, but it's do the right thing. Don't be a dick, you know, be ethical as much as you can and try and do these things right. Do things the right way, you know, don't fuck people over and everything else, you know. And I just think that what's funny is I think these are like core sort of business things as well to running a small business, you know, like, yeah, you can get these like massive CEOs that absolutely fuck everyone over, but also at the same time, there's loads of companies that haven't done that and who try and be as ethical as possible and run these companies, even like the DIY aspect of starting a company, like, right, okay, we can do this. Like, we've got this much money. What can we do with it? Budgeting a tour, you know, when you're 16, things like that. And on Lightyear's first tour, we basically knocked on the rental van company's thing, used somebody else's license that was like, you know, I'm not sure if they knew or not, signed up for this rental van and then, you know, budgeted the tour, called all the venues, and then we're like, great, we've got a tour. And then we were with another band and our driver crashed into another rental van. And it was like, the paperwork was just like, it was like, oh my God, you know, we're 16 and this, but it's shunned from the punk scene, is it? Oh, you know, starting a business or entrepreneurship or all this stuff. And I guess it's that capitalist element where your capitalism is bad. But I think when you grow older and you're just like, shit, I need to survive in this society, I have to play the game a bit, you know? And I think that's what sort of differs that sort of punk scene around, you know, the old school one a little bit, you know, like at Rebellion Festival, which is a fucking great festival. But I remember going for the first time and I saw people, you know, lying in the streets who are real old school punks, you know. One dude had a missing leg, drinking special brew still in the 60s. It was almost like people like, yeah, they're keeping it real. They're not opting into the system. And like you say, this might be controversial as well, but like, I was a bit like, that's what not opting into the system looks like, you know, like, that's great, man, if you want to do that. But also, like, I just feel like, what grounds are you gaining for the cause? What are you doing by not doing that? I'm just not sure. And I'm really fascinated with the connection between sort of new school punk, like hardcore and old school punk, and to the point where I just don't think it's even the same genre, you know, like if you read like or listen to like Black Flag, you know, they came over and like people were just fucking spitting at them and that, you know, the gig sounded like war zones, you know, and it was just like, that's not what I want to do, you know. And I just think there's two different worlds sort of colliding there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think old school punk and like anarchy and what that actually means. I was chatting to a guy in a really cool blues bar in Soho called Ain't Nothing But Blues Bar. And we were talking about John Lydon. And I was like, is he gone full right wing? And then we just chatted about John Lydon. And then I was like quoting him your lyrics of like, Johnny Cash is soon to be a business loan. There's another selling butter.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and we were just talking about John Lydon. It's like, met him once, normal man. He just wants to say the maddest shit. Do you know what I mean? And Rebellion, great festival. It's a business, you know, like, why do they do it? They want to put on shows that they really care about and it has to make money and pay for itself. Otherwise, don't do it.
And I guess, like, they probably started it, and I don't know those guys, but I've got, you know, nothing but respect because it's a brilliant festival. But I think they probably started it, and I'm guessing it grew, and it was like, actually, we could do this and not work in a call center or whatever. You know, no offense to people who work in call centers, but there's not many people who work in call centers who like it, you know?
I think anyone can not like any job.
I think working with arseholes is like a big thing. I think you could do anything if you're with a nice bunch of people, you know, and there's no toxicity in the, you know, the team and all that. But yeah, like you say, Rebellion is an example of a really well-run business.
Wasn't it called Holidays in the Sun before?
Yeah. Holidays in the Sun. And it was at Morecambe as well, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Not many startups or whatever, really not a lot of startups at all, will keep going as long as they've been going.
Yeah, I think like one similarity, I think, between being in a band and running a business. Recently I've been getting all like philosophical about entrepreneurship, inverted commas, and being a founder and that sort of stuff. And it's like, when you're in a band, if you don't like it, you feel like you can't leave because, and you know, and it's sort of the same with the business. And people rely, you know, feel like people are relying on you. You can't leave a band because you don't want the other guys in the band to not have the band. But most bands, I say, have been through that, where somebody's not into it, or somebody is, you know, people are always growing. And I think that's the similarity with your own business is that you feel like you can't leave it, you can't quit.
We've been together like 30 years, I think, something, coming at 30 or maybe over that.
Is it 30 last ever tours?
We've potentially got another one where the last tour we're announcing soon. Yeah, just another last gig at Manchester Punk Festival.
Yeah.
Saying that, it's also like it stops you quitting early. And if I had quit at the first sort of hurdle of, something with the band or anything, the older I get, definitely become more resilient. And I think that having that foundation in stuff and no easy way out is a good, it sounds weird, but a good way of looking at relationships as well. You're kind of like, okay, we're in this. We have to fucking work this out. There's this problem. In a business, how often, how many problems do you have to solve a day? Over the course of the history of your business, thousands and thousands, You're essentially doing that for yourself, or you're doing it for someone else a bit more half-arsed, And, we did that startup with Hawker, and I was, founder and co-founder of that. And what surprised me was, and hopefully might inspire people to do it, is like, it is the fucking punk thing of going, right, let's just fucking do it. And obviously money, I'm not suggesting that that is a barrier, but it's not as much of a barrier as like not having the drive to do it, or not having the people skills, or not having, some business acumen, or not having, like, money is a minor compared to those things. If you don't have all those other things, don't do it, because it isn't going to work. If you haven't got a good idea and you haven't got, I'm trying to not use business cheesy acronyms, but if you can't get on with people, i.e. sitting in a fucking metal box for 6 hours a day on tour, if you can't get on with those people, I mean, I've had arguments, dude, and I'm sure you have with band members. I've had fist fights, everything. And because it's stressful, because you have, a higher turnover, but you have low income, you're hungry, you're tired. All those things, if you can tick off all those skills and whatever, and the older you are in life, the more likely you are to have those skills, money becomes a smaller issue, I think, in the beginning, because, there's a lot of people who don't have those skills, but have money,
I think, like, to keep the parallels going between music, like being in a band, making music, and business, it's like, you just have to ask yourself the question of all the time of, like, why am I doing this? It was interesting listening to Layla and Barney, and, what part of it were they interested in being in a band? And everyone's got a slightly different one. And being open about it, why am I starting this business? What problem am I solving? Hawker, you identified something that you wanted to fix and you cared about, and you tried to fix it. With music, is it like, do you want to say this message? Do you want to say we're anti-homophobic, anti-sexist, everything like that? Or do you just want to get on the stage and feel the buzz of playing live? Or do you want to go to new places and drink with your mates every day and hang around in the van? I remember some of the times I thought the van bit was better than the gigs for some going at home tours. But like, for me, I love playing live and I loved, like, making the music and stuff. But we didn't have, like, super strong messaging. But having that conversation, I think, perhaps doesn't happen as much as it should do. And it's exactly the same with business. Like, what is your personal motivation? And does it align with what the business is doing and saying? It definitely does for Signature Brew still, which is cool. I think people can have those conversations more regularly and ask themselves why they're doing it. And it's okay for that to change. You don't feel the same every day.
I always think about that, and there's different ways of messaging stuff. And I think, like Layla and Barney said in the last one, they were talking about, their stance on Palestine. And I just think there's different ways of protesting. There's different ways of getting the message out, shouting at people. Not many people who you want to convince and change their ideas respond to people shouting at them. And, essentially hardcore punk is shouting, and that's what I was doing as a kid. I was, when I was younger, it's like I was shouting, I was angry. And then, like, people were shouting back at me in the crowd, and we're all angry. But then it was like, we're all angry in a room. We all agree. We're not changing anyone, but we're angry. And obviously that feels great, because you're like, okay, we're not on our own. Yeah. We're together. We've got unity, And
I guess I'm going back to, let's just do more business analogies before we just say loads and loads of anecdotes and stories.
Okay, well, try and use as many LinkedIn business things, yeah, and I'll mark them down. Okay, so go on.
Yeah, so in business and in bands, it's about who's it for? Who are you targeting?
It's about interfacing, yeah.
It's about your target consumer profile. I remember. Oh, fucking LinkedIn, man. I'm so basically, what you're saying is like it's different people. I remember being at. Remember what? Maybe it was Rebellion. Maybe it was Boomtown. I'm seeing King Blues, and I properly like
I&E.
Properly
I&E. Ting.
Properly like rolling my eyes, being like, do people need to hear this? It's so fucking obvious. Like, hey, we're and then I'm like, do you know what? I'm not the target consumer. I'm not the target listener for that. But they need to say that for those people. And, and someone else can say it in a more nuanced way that, I might be the person for it. So you need everybody saying the stuff like the basic way. I think the way Shikari do it is way more interesting for me. But then Bob Villan, very straightforward. And it's like, okay, they're for different people, And that's the same thing in business. It's like who wants the thing that you're doing. And the better that you know who they are, the better chance you're going to have to.
I think what the element is, and I totally agree with you. What we're talking about on a sort of soul level is a lot of the time, music and things like that is kind of connecting with you as like something that's like righteous and or life changing and soulful and brings you together with other people. Or I always think how we cheapen music in society, but then we're only going to pay artists this much on Spotify, but then suddenly when somebody passes away, but we want this song at their funeral because it is the most important thing that represents their entire life in 5 minutes that they've got booked in at the crematorium. It's just like, okay, so what are we? What is music? Are we that? Do you value music like that, which is essentially probably one of the most prominent moments in someone's life span? Or are we disposable and cheap and whatever? And I know the answers. I know it's like it's saturated market. Ting. There we go. There's another one. I know it's a saturated market.
Audience.
And ting. And it's that, as to quote my own lyrics, $1 million Zimbabwean dollars. 20 years ago, the currency wasn't inflated like a Zimbabwean dollars were. Not now, obviously, but through their period of crisis. And that's where we are, and I'm not being fucking negative or whatever, but it's like you have £1, you print whatever, that's how much money you've got. Oh, okay, we're now printing more money, and it's just like, and that devalues, anything like that. That's where I feel like we are right now. And I feel like David Bowie or someone like that is like finding a £100 note or something. You've got your key things like that are solid, but it's so fucking hard to find anything, man. And this is destroying me right now. So I turn on the TV, right, and I keep talking about it, but what streaming service do you want to use, Okay, right, so I've got to now choose Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney. That's, kids are screaming, I want, Bluey. Right, okay, so I've got to resubscribe to Bluey. So I've got to send my email. I've got to scan the phone on the thing, and then we choose what. And it's like there's that, and then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna instead. This is doing my head in. I've got to get a Deliveroo because the kids are screaming because I've spent an hour trying to sort this out, and I'm like, get a Deliveroo. What Deliveroo do you want? Oh, fucking hell! Right, this one. Finally, half an hour. What's everyone want? This? Oh, that's closed. And it's just this is my rant, but like, do you know what I mean? And it's like. Everything's saturated now. I just want someone to go, this is fucking cool. Here's a cassette tape.
So technology is consuming me. I'm going old school. Not my words.
Words of Rod Stewart.
So the way I try and help myself and suggest others to like process shit like that, if that's stressing you out, like I'll try and look at everything from like a zoom out as hard and as far as you can.
Sam,
Yeah.
are you doing like a help book, like a self-help book?
No, I'm just telling you what I do.
Okay. I thought this is turning into like an advert or something.
No, like, I mean, I definitely.
Okay, zoom out. Yeah, go.
No, like this. So there's a guy called Dan Carlin who has the podcast called Hardcore History. And he wrote a book that I got during COVID and I couldn't read it because it was too fucking bleak. But I read it eventually, and it's called The End is Always Near. And just talks about all the times throughout humanity where we've nearly wiped ourselves out. And, you know, you talk about just the Spotify streaming sort of conversation. Like, recorded music wasn't a thing like 200 years ago, you know? And we're talking about it from like we were making shitloads of money in the 80s selling tapes and CDs, and now we're not. The thing is that the world's changing so fast and faster than it ever has done. Of course we can't keep up with it. Humans existed, you know, we've done civilizations loads of times, and loads of times it can go backwards, it can get worse, and it can get better. But it's like, if you just sort of think about it, it's like you're just existing, and if you just think, okay, actually, loads of this shit's happened before, loads of this shit will happen again, you know, and it'll be all right. Anyway, that helps me kind of approach things. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
I think it's called Civilization Collapse and Theory or something else. Anyway, I can't find it. But basically, it's the theory around we as humans get to a certain point. So say if there was other dimensions throughout the universe or whatever, and the reason why we can't find other races is because they hit a point. Every race hits a point where they can't get past. Can't remember the name of it, but it's really the sort of idea that every race evolves over, obviously, you know, millions of years or whatever, and you get to the point, and they don't know what that point is. So the theory is, I guess in the 50s, you could have said the theory was nuclear, you know, weapons.
Yeah.
Or AI, you know, sentient AI. Or, you know, this is turning Joe Rogan-ish, isn't it? Fucking hell.
I've never actually listened to it.
But the idea is that, you know, that we can't get past a certain thing. We just don't know what that certain thing is. And then it all resets. We destroy ourselves, we destroy the planet, and then it resets. And I get that, but also it's almost like that's not to say there isn't a linear structure that, you know, it's hard because I'm sure every older person that's come before us has gone, oh, you know, in my day, this was better, you know.
I think it was more, you know, like your parents. I would say most of humanity before where we're at now, there was moments of like fast growth, but like pre-industrial revolution, you had a pretty good idea from what you were doing to what your dad and what your granddad did. That was kind of easier to understand. But now it is harder because it's more crazy. But like, I'm going to say more shit now that might sound like a self-help book, but it's preachy. But hopefully it's not, doesn't sound wanky. In your example, you've got too much Netflix and Deliveroo. You can just choose to just not do it. And like, I remember I was in the car with my mum and she was like getting angry at the traffic lights being on red. And I was like, Mum, you can just choose not to be angry at the red lights. And that just made it worse. And she got more angry. But it's like, again, this sounds a bit fucking wanky, but like I've like read lots of like Stoic philosophy books, and it's not the thing that's happening, it's your reaction to it. And whether people subscribe to it or not, it definitely helps me approach things.
I agree with that, but there's so many variables in life and in modern life, you know, so we try and cram all this shit into like a smaller amount of time, you know. That's essentially what digital technology has done. It's increased our ability to fill our lives with more stuff, you know, because it would be, okay, I can't do this because, you know, in the next hour, I'm going to drive down to the bank, put some money in, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee and then come back and, you know, whatever. Now it's like, right, Saturday morning, do the admin, do your bank. Right, what's next? look at the calendar for next week, cram all the shit in the calendar as much as you can. Who's in after school, who's not. And I think that like it can sound like position of privilege saying what streaming service or get delivery, but a lot of the time I've got like a son who's autistic and ADHD, and he's wonderful, but it does mean that our life is way more challenging for all of us than probably a lot of people can imagine. And that streaming thing, like, you know, if he wants to see something, he needs to see it. You know, if he needs to see Bluey or whatever, you know, he needs to see it because it's like literal pain to him if he can't get that on, you know. So we're then in that situation where we have to get this. And then the food, it's just, I think if you're organized, you have space and you have time, then you can be zen as fuck, you know. But like, when you haven't, you know, it's difficult.
For me, like, one of the things that I try to do that stops me getting stressed out is like, why did I think this was going to be easy or go perfectly? You go to an airport, privileged, I'd love to be queuing in an EasyJet queue. I'm sorry to quote you, lyrics back to you. You miss, you know, the flight's delayed. I remember came back from somewhere and I was on the bus that takes you to the between the plane and the airport, and a woman was talking very loudly about how she'd been at a yoga retreat and everyone on this like bus could hear. And then she like lost her shit because the bus was taking ages. I was like, I really wanted to go. Didn't work then, did it? Why do you think that everything's good? Like, this is for me. Like, why do I think everything's going to go to plan? It won't. And then when the thing that doesn't go the way you want it happens, you go, okay. The problem is me thinking everything's going to be perfect and easy. And I think that's a lot of people have like this like mad expectations of whatever it might be.
I used to think like people are either arseholes or not. And I think that there's so many levels of sort of misunderstood levels of neurodiversity out there, especially in the older generation of like 50 plus and stuff, because we all know this. And it's kind of like, you know, parents, oh, in my day, we didn't have autism. It's that old analogy of like, yeah, but your dad has to have his favorite mug. Otherwise, it's fucking hell to pay. I just think there's a world out there of, and I've just really tried to look at that, you know, just from, I guess, customer service point of view. Because again, these are like weird business fucking terms. That's another one. But I think customer service is like a really shit word that actually can be quite punk. And the way I mean that is that if you're super fucking posy, someone is having a fucking shit day, you know, or they may have autism, that, you know, they find queuing stressful around people, they may have social anxiety, there might be a slight change in their daily routine. They're fucking struggling on a level that you probably don't know. If you can just be super posy and just be like, hey, how's it going? You know, like, you know, you can transfer that positivity just from a very 10-second interaction, which may be their only interaction for the entire day. And bands like Good Clean Fun, you know, and that Posy-core thing, I think on a real much more basic fundamental level, and this is why I think Grown at Home had some of this. You know, you'd say, oh, you didn't have a message. Well, I think you did. And I think that like it was more subtle and you probably didn't even know you were having these messages. You know, when who wrote the lyrics? Was it Nick or Cookie or
yeah, both of them,
or even what people take from those lyrics or those meanings or that live show, you know, like Meryl Streep, you know, that band Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Like I'm again late to the fucking party all the time, but they've got a song and it goes about living near the sea and blah blah blah, you know. And if this is life, I don't want it, you know. And it just really fucking hit a chord with me, and I was like, fuck, you know, and it's very direct, but then there's smaller messages like I just want to grow, I think he's like, I just want to grow beans in my garden. And I'm like, I just want to fucking do that. You know, like, I just think that if you can sort of you know, like people don't, you know, I'm going, but this is ridiculous now, it's just a full on rant session. Sorry, Sam, but like,
no,
you know, like, you know, Coolio had this song where he goes, you know, people used to speak even if they didn't know you, you know, and it's just, it just comes back to me every time. So people they used to speak in the street, morning, how's it going? You know, like, yeah, good day, blah, blah, blah. And it was nice. It was nice interactions. And I always go back to, and I have the same fucking quotes over and over again, but, you know, I go, the Salem witch trials, you know, after that, there was all that. There was a massive distrust throughout society where people were, there was a lot of illness around that time as well. So people stopped trusting people. So people were she's a witch, they're a witch, because around, I think it was smallpox or something. And after COVID, as a society, we've had this massive PTSD where in stupid classic Englishness, stiff upper lip, keep up and carry on, or whatever the fuck that thing is. No, because we've all been taught to stand apart from each other, not talk, wear masks, freak each other out, argue, be polarized. And in those small day-to-day things that if we all did this, it could help change,
Well, I mean, we're doing it, hopefully, right now. I absolutely love saying hello to strangers and just nodding, being as nice as possible. And I think, we're spreading that message to people and be like, oh, yeah, do you know what? Just change what you're doing by 1%. Be nice to someone else, you'll just feel good. I feel like if you're nice to people, you probably do more for yourself. Probably makes yourself feel better. But yeah, with growing at home, like, I know that we were like helping people have a good time. Like, people would come to the shows and they would enjoy it because they could see we were enjoying it. Singing along and having a good time is great. I would rather do many, many things than go to an arena and sing Wonderwall with millions of people. I'm glad that Oasis Mania has finished. However, all those people having a wicked time, and that's what Oasis doing. They're like making everyone come together, and that's awesome.
I think there's psychology around that as well, around larger crowd, everyone singing together, and this is why places like churches and any sort of group of people coming together, choirs in general, religious and non-religious, like, this is why, the larger the group, the more I'm guessing dopamine and serotonin and all that is released. And also, like, as humans, we're supposed to be like that, that's in our DNA is to be like that. So I don't know. I just think that, and I'm not saying I do this every day, but I just think if we, could just do that again as a society and just fucking talk and stop arguing, I'm just like, I'm so over it. I'm so over, like, I'm angry and there definitely comes a point where, like, that you have to pick your side, there's definitely a time where this is clearly absolutely horrendous in what is happening. You need to pick a side. You can't be on the wall all the time, and some people don't listen. Some people just don't listen, but, like, we just got to try, man. I don't know, like, if that's what punk is, I still want to subscribe to that, and I'm glad that sort of shaped who I am and who my friendship group is. My partner was like, well, none of your friends are like sexist or racist or homophobic, She's like, you'd be really surprised at how many men are like that and are toxic.
I definitely feel that too. Like, first of all, when I was younger, when I was in growing at home, I was so militantly atheist. Like, religion is bad. And now I'm just like, Joe, if that helps some people be good and be happy, fucking great, crack on. And brings people together. Yeah. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be religious, and I'm not going to force other people to be religious, obviously. But I don't, I think my expectation was like, why is this happening? It's stupid. I could see it. I felt like I could see it. And the same thing with, like, not being sexist and not being racist. It seems so obvious to me. And I basically don't know anybody. Like, so, someone who I met through work was like mega sexist. And it was almost like shocking because of how blatant it was. And I was just like, it was like an episode of like The Office or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is so rare. I remember when we were playing some shows with Adequate 7. I don't even know how it got back to us, but someone said, Adequate 7 do not want any racist jokes said at any point. And I remember thinking, uh-oh. And I was like, we don't say racist jokes anyway. But I remember thinking...
Was that on their rider or something?
No, I don't know how. Someone just told us that they definitely didn't want any racist things said. And I was like, oh. Well, but I remember thinking, uh-oh, what? Like, we don't want to get in trouble, but actually we don't say any racist shit anyway. But like, yeah, another time, had a bit of a kind of argument with John from the Skins. Because I was like, basically saying this, like, isn't it obvious? Like, and he was like basically saying, yeah, to you, but you've got to keep saying it to help other people who might be somewhere else on that, like, spectrum of racism and sexism,
Yeah.
but saying it moves people in the right direction, and you got to keep saying it. Like, racism is a learned behavior. Kids do not.
Yeah.
Someone has to teach somebody to do it.
I know my grandma, like, she was like, amazing, lovely woman, very, very tough, just a brilliant woman. But
get her on the podcast.
She's so dead, dude. Thanks, Sam. So when Mr. T came on TV, on the A-Team, she would lose her shit. She would be like, because she hadn't really seen many black people the way she grew up and stuff. And she would be like, this man's on TV. But then she was like, I've got a crush on this guy, And I'm like, there's so much weird shit going on here, because like she's highlighting the differences, which is like, to me as a young lad, I'm like, oh, okay. So she's saying this guy's different, and obviously Mr. T was different. He had fucking loads of chains. He was a legend, but also to a point, it was that almost caricature of the black person. You can see it two ways. It's the strong black person, in a time of probably loads of racism in the 80s and stuff, but also you don't really want those key people to be comical caricatures, and I think probably you want them to be, I don't know, more you know what I'm saying, but and I think it was weird. So my foundation originally was like, okay, people are different, and I had to relearn. And again, I'm not playing the fucking victim, but I had to like, and this is what like bands like Propaganda taught me. It was like, okay, I'd listen to that. I'm like, and because it was so this way or that, it's like, no, this is wrong, this is right. And listen to Propaganda, I was like, oh, this is the rule book. Yeah. There's clearly defined rules, and this is fucking not nice. And that's what I'm going to base on. I didn't have people to generally teach me that, so I was like, okay, these are the rules, and they're very clear. Also at that time, like you say, the organized religion thing, Propaganda obviously like fucking hate organized religion. It's, it causes so much pain and suffering and all that. And like you say, whilst I agree with that, now I'm like, okay, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Yeah, and still love Propaganda, but every now and then it's nice to refer back to the manual, isn't it?
Yeah, like Bad Religion. I think that's part of like getting older and stuff and trying to be a bit wiser. But some of the shit just needed and needs to be said, and in various different ways that connects with people. And it's a good thing to get everyone together and get behind. And like I think you sort of touched on it earlier. Oh,
you've gone again.
Okay, I've done another track. Hopefully that doesn't. Oh, actually, it's at the 1 hour mark. It's at the 1 hour mark. Okay, cool. You're welcome, Pete.
Just an interlude.
Thanks for doing this.
We'll say hi to Pete, because he's going to edit this out. Hi, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, Pete. So one thing that I guess would be cool to sort of talk about is like you've got 2 kids. I've made the decision with my partner, probably not going to have any children.
Yeah.
The idea of like trying to explain, I don't know, any of this to a kid, I would find quite hard. But like people who've got kids, they're just doing that now. They're trying to explain it, and every day it's like, why does this happen, or why is this happening? It must be when you haven't figured it out yourself. You're like, okay, organized religion, quite complicated, but somewhere along your road, and anyone who's got kids road, they're going to be like, okay, this is what Christmas is. This is who Jesus is, and Father Christmas, and the Easter Bunny, and anyway, doesn't matter. Here's a present. You know what I mean? And you have to explain that shit. It's fucking hard.
I'm just going to answer everything in the style of Earth Crisis. So I'm gonna like, Daddy, where do babies come from? Babies come from. Like I'm just gonna be like that all the time.
Just do one kid in one way, and then do the other kid in a different way, and just see what happens.
I was thinking of telling them wrong things. So as in like, I was gonna tell them that a window was a door and things like that, and just as an experiment, but like about everything in life.
It's not too late.
Yeah, I don't know if social services might ding-dong in.
Big social, big government telling me what I can and can't tell my children.
I think this is a thing as well that like I find versus, the government and all that. I've been reading about anarchism recently and trying to get my head around it and stuff. And for years it was like, yeah, anarchy. And then it was like, hold on. I know nothing about anarchy. Like, has it worked? You know, like, where has it worked? Is it still working and stuff? And there's definitely an element now of like conspiracy theorists where they are like, the government's against me and the council's against me. And, you know, I just think it's like, it's not as against them as what everybody thinks, because we have a system, and unless it was very organized and we had a plan before we sort of transitioned into that new system of anarchy or whatever, that would not work and society would collapse. And so I was reading about, and I'll probably get this wrong, but like Chiapas, Mexico, there's a community of people, very, very large community, like hundreds of thousands of people, who still run an anarchist state, and it works, and they have healthcare and they have schools and they have, you know, but the way that it's organized is from the ground up. You know, the authority comes from the ground up, and, you know, I'm not sure how they transitioned into that society, but I want to read about it. But
you know, Johnny, the original trumpet player from JB Conspiracy, he lived it like in this place in South East London, like a sort of like a commune, where the rent was crazy cheap, but they would only let people move in if they had specific skills, and then they had specific jobs to do. So you couldn't just pay to live there. You had to be accepted in. And then he lived there for like more than 10 years. And, you know, he took care of all the computer stuff and the internet and all the tech stuff. And that was his job. And that's just like a cool little microcosm of that type of thing happening. And all of this stuff it's all out there. If you really feel passionate about that or whatever it might be, you can just go there.
This led me into reading about businesses who they do their structure like an anarchist state. And there's not many, but there's a couple that are very, very successful, where their employees choose their own wages, their own hours and everything. And there's no CEO, there's no sort of co-founder per se within guidance from the company, but it's very successful. So are you going to do Signature Brew and flip it on the head?
What's the name of these companies?
I'm
definitely interested.
No, don't, because I'm making it up. I'm making it up.
Oh, right.
No, I'm not making it up. I'm joking. There's one particular that does really well. They are structured like this, but yeah.
I think
I'll find out.
I think like you sort of are hemmed in a little bit by what the society, what society dictates. I think businesses have got more unfair for average staff salary versus CEOs on the whole. Signature Brew's not a global corporation, so I don't think it's a real problem for us. There's people that have worked at Signature Brew for 10 years, which is amazing, and they believe in what the company stands for, which is awesome. We've got lots of musicians who work there, funny enough.
What's your turnover like?
£7.5 million.
Sorry, no, your staff turnover, like your dropout.
Like pretty low. Yeah, like staff turnover is like really good. And business chat, when people leave, it's usually good for them and good for the business. So anytime anyone's had to like fire anybody at Signature Brew or other companies that I've like helped out, I always sort of say 99% of the time you are helping the person by firing them, because you're helping them get to a job that they're good at or that they like. And you're doing your job to make the team better.
But that, to a lot of people, will sound like bullshit. But no, seriously, like I agree with you. In the short term, it's like shit. I've got my rent to pay, my bills to pay and everything. But you're really right. I think that being in the right job with the right people for you, whatever that is the key to making it work for you and your family and stuff,
100%.
Because if you're going to be there doing that, you're not going to be happy. You're going to accept it's not working, accept that this isn't you, but accept that these people, this company that I'm working for, are just assholes, like they're firing me, but they're assholes. So this place isn't right for me because I can't work in this asshole hell, It's kind of swear too much, don't I? My friend said stop swearing, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I've definitely...
Like if people aren't into it, do something else. Like, people want security. They want jobs, security, safety, especially if they've got like people depend on them, children, partners, etc. But also, we've got an okay sort of support structure in the UK. It's not going to go to fucking total. You're not going to die if you don't have a job for a bit. Like thinking about why, what are you about? Why do you want to do it? People, there's all the sort of old. You've lured me into a LinkedIn trap where I'm going to start saying things that might sound like fucking the least punk things ever, but like, what do people want to do?
That's what I'm trying to make you do.
Why are you doing this? You working to live or living to work, all that shit. If you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. How often are people trying to do that? Like, I think from a school point of view, they should help people more to learn about what they are good at, what they care about, what their values are, and what jobs can reflect that. If you've trained your whole life to be an architect, and you get to the day one of being an architect after 10 years, you fucking hate it. What are you going to do? I know one of my mates from school became an architect, and 10 years into it, he changed to being a personal trainer and now runs a endurance running company because that's what he wanted to do.
Think
that's great.
There's an element of privilege in some of these statements, and I think that and I don't mean that in a because I've been talking like this, and but I'm just being truthful and like to get to the point where you can train to be an architect and you can have the space and time to change to a personal trainer isn't a reflection on them, but it's definitely a reflection on where possibly they've come from.
I'm just using it as an example. Like there's tons of examples where people come from working class backgrounds, come from super privileged backgrounds, neither of which the person has chosen, and made decisions that have made them unhappy or happy. And I think the bit that I don't want to sound privileged is that people haven't got enough space or time to be able to think about it. It might take fucking years. Do you know what I mean? It's just like being able to talk about it, being able to talk about it with your friends, and the way that society approaches like having a job. And fucking Neil should get Neil on here. Move to Thailand, become a scuba diver. That's sick.
He won't do it. He won't. I've asked him. He won't do it. But yeah, I know. Like, I totally know what you're saying, and it was a bit of a low blow from me there. But I'm just thinking of that person, single parent family. Yes, you're on the dole. Like our support system in this country used to work, and it doesn't work now. And it is much better. Like for America, I mean, living in America absolutely terrifies me because if you get sick or if you lose your job or whatever, you are screwed. And that to me is absolutely terrifying for so many people over there. But like, here, if you lose your job, you are then, and we are talking about two different things. We're talking about helping somebody move into the right place where they are with the right people in employment. But also, on the other hand, there's a lot of people stuck in, employment where they know if they leave or get fired, they know that there's a 6-month waiting time to get on housing benefit. They know that their kids who potentially are having challenges won't go to school then. They know that all these things, it's like, and then they are stuck in this position where it's very, very tough. Because I was thinking about the support system in the UK, around this, and it is broken because people shouldn't be waiting for fucking 6 months. They shouldn't be waiting for EHCP diagnosis for like 3 years, fucking why is this, and at the end of the day, again, you can get angry, but you don't know the state of the economy. You've not seen the books. If we're talking about a business again, we can all criticize Keir Starmer for many things. We could criticize any of them, politicians, whatever, but at the end of the day, do we know the balance? What's the bottom line on their financial stats? We don't really, but we're ready to comment about what this business, which essentially is the UK, it's a massive business. How can we comment on a business if we don't know that bottom line? And so these problems are integral. Is that a fucking word? I know. Like you can come from a place of financial wealth, but you can also come from a place which has financial wealth and privilege, but also has a broken family structure, that has potentially parents who absolutely did everything, who wasn't there to make that money. You could come from a place that is economically, more underprivileged, and you could have a really strong, loving mother, you know, and or father, and or parent or guardian, and our problems aren't all financial. I think we just need to recognize our problems in general as a community, and then also, you know, show me the books, you know, show me your accounting, you know, But then again, we don't know everything. We don't know, you know, the military challenges that the government has. I'm not, oh God, listen to me, I'm defending the government. What the fuck has changed? But
the expectation that you can understand it is unrealistic. That's the thing that I've tried to teach myself. You're not going to be able to understand it all in one place. And it's okay to not have a strong opinion about any part of it. But it's okay to have opinions that are supported. But just going back to like the job thing, I just want to make it clear that I'm not telling people that I think you should just quit your job and try and become a personal trainer or start a drop shipping business and grind on Instagram or all that shit. What I'm saying is, as a society, through education, growing up, whatever situation that you grow up in, being able to think about what fulfills you and how you can build your like life towards that, that's something that people think about. So that then it's a thing that you can talk about, it's a thing that you can think about and go, right, I don't mind working in a call centre because I like talking to people, whatever it might be. That's the thing that I think I used to do, would be like, I definitely fucking had some proper privileged like views when I was younger. I like looked down on certain types of jobs, and it's like, that's fucking stupid. If people want to work in a call centre and they like it, absolute power to them. Brilliant. Like, let's go with that.
I worked in a call centre, and there was this guy, and my God, he was just so amazing at it. And I'm not saying this in a, oh, wasn't he good? You know, like, he was just so shit hot at it, and he would answer the phone. He was that guy that you get, imagine like just getting an absolute legend on a situation that you needed sorting. It was DHL, and everyone, if there's anyone who worked at DHL around this time, there's a few people that I might know, you know who I'm talking about. He's probably still there. They let him go on a, what do you call it, where you go on holiday and come back to keep your job. They let him
sabbatical,
you know, whatever. And they were just like, yeah, you got it back. And this is how he would answer the phone. So just ring the phone now, Sam. Go on.
Ring, like that.
Hello, thank you for calling DHL. How can I help you today?
Where's my package?
I am so sorry that this has happened, and I am going to make it my job to sort this out for you. I promise you. No, that's what he was.
I promise this, or else I die.
And dude, he would go like, right, I'm going to call the other office, and I'm going to make this my number one thing today to solve for you. Is that okay?
Oh, thank you.
And then you go, yeah. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. And then, right, what he would do is, he'd go, da-da-da-da. He'd solve this, you know, we'd go to another section. Then the phone would ring the phone again.
Hello?
Fuck off. No, he wouldn't say that. He would go, the same thing straight away. He would go, thank you for calling DHL. That is so, like, but he would be genuine. You know, like, it wouldn't be scripted. He would just be genuine. You know, it just goes back to that sort of, like, customer service thing. I'd be stoked talking that. I'd call up DHL just to talk to this guy.
That's great.
Like, it'd be like a helpline. Like, he was a legend. So, like I said, it was a bit of a low blow to say that thing about, you know, it wasn't that linked, but it just was something in my head about how difficult, having been there, I know it's really difficult to get out of a situation of not having any money because you're time poor.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have that thing and stuff. But what I would say as well, like, how many people does Signature Brew employ? Do you know that?
Just under 100.
That's a fucking lot, man.
And they're all legends.
Name them.
I was saying we're at a great low dickhead point. Very, very no dickheads.
That is amazing. But like, you've got a really low staff turnover in the highest. I think hospitality is the highest thing for staff turnover. So you've got a really low staff turnover. You've got 100 jobs. You're paying 100 people's rent. You know, essentially. You're supporting musicians, you're ethical, and you're supporting music and stuff. And, you know, to be fair as well. And then also looking at how much your gigs and stuff bring into the local economy as well. I've done this with work recently, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go and, you know, see a gig at, what's the one, the smaller venue in London?
Signature Brew
Haggerston, yeah. That's such a sick venue. It's lovely, it's cozy. It just has that, you know, that and certain thing where...
It's got an amazing new urinal. That's the game changer. New urinal.
Has it?
Please come down to Signature Brew Haggerston and check out the urinal.
If I came and played a gig or did something there, we should do a podcast.
Yeah,
And if I put,
we've got
if I did a poo in the urinal, or if somebody did, would you come with rubber gloves and clean it because you're the boss?
Yeah, 100%. I hope no one from work's listening to this.
I'm so going to test you on that. I mean, someone is.
We've got Sponger playing at Haggerston, and Pickle Dick, Scott from 0.6, his new band Lunar Hijacker playing. That's all in a few weeks. But yeah, it was mad. Like Lola Young played there last year, and she's highest streaming UK artist this year.
You know, I remember going there, and I went to eat nearby. I had some food near. I think I was with you when I was with you. Yeah. I think you paid for me.
Like ramen, something like that.
Yeah, ramen. Yeah, you know, but it was like, okay, so you're bringing in this money to the local economy as well, and we can vilify, you know, business and capitalism and stuff, but it is helping people and it's helping music, and I think, I don't know, man, I'm stoked to know you for that, and I'm really proud of you for doing this and still, you know, connecting it to this. Like, you're not fracking or you're not like, you know, doing this sort of shit.
One of my mates from school, thanks for saying all that, man. I appreciate it. Like, one of my mates from school worked for BAE Systems, and I was like, you know, they make landmines, right? That's the only thing I ever said to him.
What's that? Say that again.
He worked for BAE Systems, which one of the things, I think they make planes and shit, but they make landmines. And I was like, you work for a company that makes landmines. Yeah. I think you work for like this sustainability department or something daft like that. Everyone's got a choice, you know. Looking at it the other way around, like, you've made like a load of life choices, and now you got a job that you sound like you like it, and you're living in Cornwall, which is great, and that's been a journey, you know. And give yourself some props for manoeuvring your life towards something that you want it to be like.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. Yeah, but I really like everyone I work with, you know, and we've had to be really resilient. I've definitely gone through multiple places where I'm like, this isn't right for me. It's time to move on. It's just time to close this chapter on my workbook or whatever and go and do something else. Or if you are working at that job with that shithead boss, go in the toilets, start your company in the bogs, you know, take an extra long poo.
Oh, yeah.
Set up your website on your phone. Set up your email. You know, it's just like little things as well. I was looking on Vinted recently, which, you know, found a sweet Pixies hat there. But like, I can see that people, and I'm not saying this is ethical, but I can see that people are drop shipping off Temu band t-shirts and stuff like The Cure or whatever. And you can see them on Temu, then you see them for Vinted for like double the price. And then they're pro sellers. So all they're doing is they're drop shipping from Temu straight to these people and adding their addresses and just being the middle person and making bank on this. And I looked into that, and this one kid was like, oh, I've made 20 grand this year. I don't know, like on Reddit, I don't know how to pay tax on this, but I've been drop shipping, you know, on Vinted. And it's like, there's hustles out there. I mean, I don't do that because I really like my job and it's really worthwhile, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's part of the issue with like information overload, social media. You're presented with like millions of options. Everyone's trying to sell you something, and it's like, oh yeah, sign up to my course or whatever. It's quite hard to navigate through it. And that's like going back to what I said before. Like, I was like, sometimes I'll be like watching, I don't know, you know, Would I Lie to You? I'm always like, I'd love to go on that show and like do the thing, have some laughs. I was like, well, you've made precisely no effort towards making that a reality. If you really wanted to go on that show, then become a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I think it's mad, innit? Because this has been a bit of a deep dive into like punk versus capitalism or whatever, but which is funny because these chats never turn out how I kind of expect them to. They're always quite serious. Like, I don't think me and you are very rarely this serious, you know?
We've had conversations like this before, and I'm pretty passionate about like helping people with their businesses and think about shit in a different way. Or even if it doesn't do anything, it's like, I always wish I had more people, like talk to more people. I remember all of the other episodes, everyone's getting into like emotional shit, which I think is cool. Like, I remember when me and Bob Barrett, great drummer, great guy, also featured in the Chaz Palmer Williams band with me for a short amount of time. I think he played drums on on all your records.
Yeah. Legend.
We used to both live in London, and we would drive back to the Midlands to go to band practice, and we did that for about 2 years. And it was like 6 hours basically in the car per Saturday. And I remember when we the band stopped and we stopped traveling stupid amount of time in the car, I remember I felt worse. And the only thing that was different was I used to talk to Bob for 6 hours every Saturday. You know, if anyone ever wants to talk to me about anything, call me. I'll chat to anybody about anything. And if that helps anybody in a tiny way, then wicked.
I think that's a rad thing, man. I think that, like, I don't know, you could have like a little email address or something.
If anyone's got any business ideas that they want to tell me, I'll happily chat to them about them.
This conversation sort of, it's so against two different things that I'm inside of me. You know, it's like this kind of where business can take people away from a situation in their life, you know, and give them economic independence. But also, like, my instinct is to kick back against business and money, and maybe that mentality is right to have people, I don't know, thinking like that. You know, it's such a conflict in my head. It's like, I don't think business has to be getting one up on everyone all the time. You know, it can be like, okay, we're doing this together, we're working together as different companies and stuff. And I don't know, I always think about Jeremy Beadle, not all the time, but like, you know, when he died and everything, and everyone was like, oh, he gave absolute millions to charity, didn't once say anything about it. And I don't know, just keep grounded and you know, like John Tolley at a banquet and stuff, you know, records, and so much respect for that guy. I just think that John would never do anything that wasn't ethical, and look how successful they are. You know, John could still be a DIY promoter, putting on 50 people, not saying that's bad, that's fucking amazing, but he's managed to mold it into something where he's putting on, you know, Pink Floyd and Blink or Ed Sheeran's in the shop or whatever, and kept vinyl alive in Kingston and music, and also supporting jobs, you know.
Yeah, I was chatting to a music guy yesterday, and John Tolley got like mentioned, and we were just like, yeah, what a great guy. No one's really asking any questions, though. We were just freewheeling.
Oh yeah, dude, I don't even know what I'm fucking talking about. Like, I come off the calls, I'm like, did I even say anything? Like, I don't know. This might be utter shit. But I'm just like, people message and go, that was good. I'm like, okay, we'll do it again.
Yeah. Maybe we chat about the origin of the podcast and stuff like that. But yeah, just on what you said, I try not to assume people are successful or not successful. Like, it's very easy to look online and be like, just using John Tolley as an example. Like, the question is John Tolley happy? I don't know.
Definitely.
Hopefully. Fucking amazing. Ed Sheeran in the shop every single day. John Tolley gets to decide his own success. He'd be like, look, Ed, mate, surely you've got something else
just get
to
out.
do. Why?
Look, Ed,
you back?
There's a new Games Workshop round the corner. It's got a new version of Blood Bowl. Get your minnows out. Go down there. Go into that fart chamber of a shop and roll the D26, mate. Go for it.
Like, Ed Sheeran, like, so big artist, etc. He seems like he's happy.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if he's just like on something, because he's one of those people that has a consistent smile. It has like tangs of serial killer to me.
I called it with Ant or Deck. Which one? I can't remember which one it is. I was like, he's dead behind the eyes. Look at him. And it turned out he was dead behind the eyes. And
yeah, poor guy. I mean, you could definitely see how we talking about this, but like, you can definitely see, like, he was like, yeah, and you're right. Like, people would be like, okay, he's got everything and and it's like, you know, yes, you absolutely need to be financially better off. You know, Damien Dempsey, he's like an Irish, well, he's a songwriter, brilliant songwriter in my opinion, but he's got a song about, you know, us always wanting more, and he's another great example of very simple messaging, but also that hits home, you know, and you're kind of like, he's like, you got a roof, you got a car, you've got food on your table, you're good. Why do we have to have that Range Rover? And this is again what is conflicting for me, because this is just commercialism, isn't it? And I went to school with a lot of kids. I grew up partly on a housing estate and saw a lot of economical sort of disadvantages there and challenges. But then also I went to a private school where people were paying hundreds of thousands of pounds for their kids, you know, with politicians, conservative politicians. So I got a government assisted place to go there. Denstone College, you probably know, it was near Stafford. So I went there and a lot of the kids there, you know, were deeply unhappy. They had similar challenges to the kids in the estate. And there was a lot of them were drinking, you know, a lot of them were violent. There was a lot of bullying, and they wouldn't see their families for months on end. They had all this money. They were probably kids of, wealth and stuff. And it's just that thing. You just need to get to that point. And I think just society needs to get to that point where we are helping everybody. And it is communism, isn't it? Like, have a house, have a car, be able to function.
The sort of rich guys bad, poor people great narrative, I don't think it's like super helpful. Like, sometimes people like bang that drum and it's just like, well, hang on a minute. It's just everybody. Like, don't create like a mad division where there doesn't need to be one. Like you say, people who've got mega privilege and shitloads of money and rich parents, like it's just a complete mixed bag, and people are just people. Don't try and put a narrative on top of it.
I absolutely think there should be a limit of how much certain people have. There should be a point where it's like, you've now got 10 million and you've got a mansion and a Ferrari. You're good. You've hit your point. Like, now you now get taxed 50%.
That is how it works now.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, well no, okay, fuck that even more. There needs to be a cut-off point. Where I'm like, you don't need any more money, right?
Yeah, I mean, Labour government have put in some like new inheritance tax laws, and like farmers don't like it. But someone explained it to me the other day, and it's like it's pretty like putting money back into redistributing it. The issue that people have, I think, is that if they don't trust the government, I think people would be more willing to pay all their taxes and fucking give loads of money through their inheritance if they didn't have to give it to a untrustworthy government. To take half of my inverted commas wealth, but you got to buy a hospital with it. You can't just chuck it into the pot.
I think that's such a good idea. It's like, okay, I'm now making 10 million a year. I'm going to go down to 1 million a year, and that 9 million a year is then put into a community chest or something. Like you say, that is then going to pay for that hospital. That is going to build affordable housing. That, and it's like, that is a direct link, and it's done internally. I shouldn't be saying this. I'm getting into politics too much.
I think maybe that is a solution. It's like the government forces you to do it, so you have to do it, but you're not giving the money to the government to fucking spunk up the wall on landmines and nuclear submarines.
I would be so stoked to, like, if I was a millionaire, to go like, okay, I only get 1 million or whatever this year, but I know that I've just built a new school. I know, I'd be like, imagine the feeling of like, God, what an achievement towards the community,
So some of them do that. What we're talking about it is like mandating it, but like making it so that the person, instead of paying lawyers and accountants to dodge, I don't evade tax, I avoid tax. That is not an AP, that is a technical Partridge quote.
I wondered when that was going to come out,
What I'm saying is people wouldn't spend all the money trying to not give the money to the government. They would go, oh yeah, cool, I'm happy to give it to this thing and this person. And
that's presuming that the person who has that is not willing to pay money because they just don't trust the government. I think a lot of people who have that much money don't want to pay that money because they want the money.
Yeah, I think it is a mixed bag. People get trapped inside like insanity greed, but then also, what's the Stuart Lee quote? Yeah, but that money's mine, but it's mine. We didn't do any like hilarious banter. It's pretty serious.
I know, man. We can do it again another time, and I feel like, having a beer. I'd just like to have a beer at some point.
Oh, yeah. You said on the other ones, oh, yeah, have a few beers first. And I was like, why are we doing it at fucking 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning?
It's so weird. Like, I honestly, I wanted to sort of chat a little bit about the business side and stuff. And, but it has turned into that. And which is awesome, man, because I feel like it's not something I've talked about before. And, I still feel so conflicted around capitalism and punk and everything, but it's cool, it's amazing what you guys have done. It's not just you, obviously, you and your partners, but Signature Brew is an amazing thing. And like I said, I'm super stoked that you've done it. I'm proud that you've come out of our scene and done that and kept it real, man. So
yeah, cheers.
I always feel weird when I say nice things,
I'm really glad that you're doing the podcast, and I think it's been really like heartwarming to listen to everybody chat. And
Did you know there's no Dutch elms.
Oh, like let's just do another one, just pure nonsense banter, and then put that one in there.
Yeah, we'll do a mix and like do a rewind and whatever. But yeah, thanks loads, dudes. I better go.
All right.
And did I say thanks loads, dudes? Did I say dudes?
Don't know. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanking you.
Looking forward to hearing more. Signature Brew available now. Go to your local shop.
This is a real end. I'm going to hang up as well, but yeah, big up, man. And I'll let's actually catch up on sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime. Cool, man. Thank you.
Cheers, matey.
Bye.
Of the spinning ball, of the turning wheel, to find some life now. Then there's you in the blackened room.
Okay, that was it. Thanks so much to Sam McGregor for that interview. As always, it's so odd that I do these chats and they never end up how I thought they're going to end up. I thought that me and Sam were going to talk about fart jokes and running around naked and complete ska punk silliness or whatever. Didn't turn out that way. Turned out quite an in-depth conversation about business and the craziness of everything. But then I came off going, wow, I've never had that conversation with him. And that's what I'm finding at the moment. Like these chats are revealing about sides that I didn't know about my friends, and it's really gratifying. Again, thank you very much to all the Patreon supporters. It takes a bit of time and effort to put those together. Big shout out for Pete Fraser for producing this podcast. He's doing an absolute sterling job, and Matt as well for the music again. Thanks so much, man. You can get that over on his Bandcamp. That's it for now. I'm on the hunt for my next guest. I think it should be a big one because it's number 6, and that's totally irrelevant. So enjoying doing this. It's the weirdest thing, and it feels new and exciting, and there's more to it than I thought. You know, there's more to podcasting than I really thought, and it's scary as well because I'm like, God, I sound terrible, I'm a knob. But then I'm like, actually, that was kind of good, and that's just in my head, and I'm really enjoying this. So thanks so much for everyone listening as well around the world, because people are listening in Russia and all sorts of places, man, which absolutely blows my mind. So thanks so much. Please tell your friends, and I will see you next time.
Push the stop button, hard to show what I don't want a single soul to know. My head's just about ready to explode.